Hi, this is Amy Ackley, and welcome to my analysis of a scholarly publication. The dissertation I examined was When Choice is Motivating, the Moderating Effects of Contextual and Individual Factors. It's by now Dr. Ko, and you can find the A citation right down below. Just to give you some background, my own research will talk about student perceptions with choice and autonomy with students who are evidencing learning during performance-based tasks and assessments, but with the use of technology-based tools. So I was immediately attracted to Dr. Ko's research when it was talking about student choice and really how it could be motivating to students in the educational arena. Although Ko's dissertation was a 5-chapter dissertation, the setup of the dissertation was quite different than what we are familiar with as far as our 5-chapter dissertations. Some of those uniquenesses are due to his research design. Chapter 1 of Ko's dissertation would probably be the most familiar to us all, or set up most like our dissertations that we are required to do. It presents the introduction and also includes his research questions, although it does lack the various sections of ours, like the background and breaking that apart. It's all included in the introduction. Chapter 2 is where we start seeing some various differences. His chapter 2 is called Theoretical Framework. I think it's where we start seeing some of those differences in what people think about theoretical framework and conceptual framework. His theoretical framework is the self-determination theory, but it's embedded in what he calls his overall theoretical framework, which is really the overall conceptual framework of a literature review. As mentioned, Ko uses the self-determination theory as his theoretical framework. In what we would say is embedded in his conceptual framework here at NNU. Some highlights he draws about the self-determination theory in his chapter 2 is the self-determination theory proposes that students have 3 basic psychological needs that must be satisfied to enhance their intrinsic motivation and task performance. Those 3 things are autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Self-determination theory has further specified that this connection between choice for academic task, intrinsic motivation, and task performance can either increase or decrease depending on the contextual and individual factors. And lastly, he points out that when students recognize that they are given choices for academic tasks, their perception of autonomy increases, which enhances intrinsic motivation and task performance. In our chapter 3, we'd normally be talking about methodology, and Ko does do that. But in Ko's dissertation, he did 2 separate studies as a part of his dissertation. So in chapter 3, we see the whole results of not only methodology, but we see methodology, results, discussion, and conclusion of the first study of his dissertation. Similarly, in chapter 4, where we'd normally be talking about results, Ko is now talking about the second study. So we go through all the way from methodology, through the results, through the discussion and conclusion of the second study of his dissertation. In chapter 5 of this dissertation, we find some familiarity again, with Ko discussing not only his findings, but having a discussion regarding the implications of his study, not only for research and practice, but some further directions for further research. So what were Ko's studies about? Ko conducted 2 back-to-back studies investigating if the relationship exists between the number of choices for an assigned task, students' intrinsic motivation, and students' academic performance on a required task. Like I said, 2 studies were conducted to discover a further relationship and if it related to student task value and decision-making strategies. The study involved 2 classes of introductory educational psychology online undergraduate students at Michigan State University. In each study, the students were randomly distributed into 2 sections. One section received extensive choice, while the other received limited choice on an assigned task. While both studies mirrored each other in concept and procedure, Study 1's assigned task involved what could be considered a high-stakes assignment. Study 2 differed in that the task assigned was considered low stakes. Surveys and final task performance scores assessed the study's objectives. A pre- and post 7-point Likert scale survey measured task value, decision-making strategies, manipulation checks regarding emotions regarding the task, and intrinsic motivation. Assignment scores and students' task performance were evaluated for academic relevance. Coe's 2 studies revealed mixed results concerning the impact of choice. With his studies based on previous research regarding choice overload studies in 2000, Coe found that neither Study 1 or 2 supported the choice overload hypothesis. In fact, results from Study 2 were in direct opposition, showing there was an increase in a student's intrinsic motivation and subsequently their task performance when extensive choices were offered for task completion. Another significant finding was the coherent correlation found amongst both studies about students' feeling of frustration, intrinsic motivation, and task performance, suggesting that task difficulty can play a key role. Coe suggests that when a task value is high and extensive choice is given, a student's frustration level rises, thereby decreasing a student's intrinsic motivation for the academic task. Something interesting about Coe's study, I think, is simply in the design of his dissertation. Through all of our readings and annotations, I had yet to see a dissertation that included 2 designs into the study and into the results of the dissertation. Finding a study that was so closely linked to some of the topics of my study, such as student choice and autonomy, really helped me find some other authors and some other research that is out there that I could look into those and find some other resources for not only some of my other annotations, but just some other research that is out there on some of my topics. My survey instrumentation is something that I do not have picked out for my own study as of yet. I was interested to see what Coe used, and he used the Intrinsic Motivation Inventory, IMI. In looking closer at this instrument, it took me to a website called self-determinationtheory.org. Once I visited this website, I found that there were a ton of different questionnaires and resources on a various amount of topics. Just by logging in and pushing on this tab highlighted here called Questionnaires, once you log in, you will be taken to an abundance of questionnaires that are available for educational research. You still might have to write for official permission, but as you can see, I've listed off to the right the various questionnaires that are available for you. They range from anything from like general casualty orientation scales to perceived autonomy support, perceptions of parents, self-regulation questionnaires, all available. I'm not sure that mine lies in there, but it was helpful to know that if you follow a trail of an instrumentation tool, that there may be different resources out there for you to use. So if you are interested in choice or any topics regarding motivation, Coe's dissertation might be something you want to check out. Once again, thank you for watching.